In the world of late-night television, where laughter is usually the balm, after a long day tonight turns into a battlefield. Just a day ago, Jimmy Kimmel Live, one of ABC's flagship shows, was suspended indefinitely. No clear explanation, only a storm of whispers, corporate pressure, power calls from the shadows, or a joke that went too far. Kimmel is silent, and that silence hangs in the air like a storm cloud. Into that vacuum, another show is thrust to the front lines. The Tonight Show. And Jimmy Fallon, a host long known as gentle, safe, even criticized as too harmless, now faces a chance, or a trial, to turn his stage into a place of judgment. Across from Fallon tonight sits none other than George Santos, the ex-congressman, infamous for a cascade of scandals. From fabricated resumes to murky campaign cash, he was once prime material for Jimmy Kimmel's punchlines. And now, with Kimmel forced off the stage, Santos treats this moment like a victory lap. The audience in the studio isn't buzzing the way it usually does. They sit quietly, waiting. The Roots, instead of their bright, brassy opener, lay down a dark, heavy groove drums, pulsing like 1,000 heartbeats. No one came to laugh. Everyone came to witness a confrontation. Tonight, The Tonight Show isn't entertainment. It's a tribunal. Jimmy Fallon won't just be a host, he'll be the prosecutor. And George Santos, a man who used to smile his way through storms, is strapped into the hot seat under the unforgiving glare of truth. The Tonight Show studio wears a different face tonight. The warm, golden lights, those that conjure ease and laughter, are gone, replaced by cold, blue steel tones that slice the air like a blade, draping the room in severity. The seats are packed, but instead of chatter, there is near silence so still it seems the breathing is audible. Rows once trained to burst into laughter now hold their tension, as if everyone understands they aren't here for fun, they're here for a fight. Fallon's glossy wooden desk stands like an altar at center stage. The lights strike it until it mirrors back in hard lines, chill and sharp. Fallon sits behind it, back straight, fingers laced. He is no longer the affable MC. He looks like a judge, waiting for the accused to enter. Across from him, a single guest chair sits under its own halo of light, simple, but tonight it might as well be the hot seat in a public hearing. The room holds its breath, waiting for George Santos to take it. Behind them, the massive LED wall abandons its cheerful palette. Instead, it alternates between two images: stark white letters on black, The Reckoning, and the empty desk, with a lone microphone from Jimmy Kimmel Live. The image repeats like a haunting refrain. One voice has been forced quiet, and tonight, another must face the truth. When George Santos steps out from the wings, the lights collapse onto him. Dark suit, lapel pin flashing, the familiar smug smile stretching wide. He waves like a sitting statesman. But under the harsh lights, the small betrayals show. Fingers tapping the armrest, eyes darting, tells of a man not as calm as he seems. A playground for jokes has become an arena. Jimmy Fallon stands as prosecutor. The audience transforms into a jury. And George Santos, the man long sheltered by promises and persona, takes the hot seat, awaiting judgment. The cameras lock onto the two men. Fallon sits tall, a strained smile, eyes like ice. Santos leans back, crosses a leg, a self-satisfied grin as if this were his stage. Jimmy Fallon. Welcome Congressman George Santos to The Tonight Show. Scattered applause. A few boos whistle through. The fractured sound echoes, tightening the atmosphere. Santos turns to the crowd, raises a hand. Smile brightening. George Santos. Thank you, Jimmy. It's a great honor to be here. I know I used to be a favorite prop in Jimmy Kimmel's jokes, but now I'm still here, and his show isn't. A ripple goes through the room. Some claps, mostly taut silence. Santos lifts an eyebrow, prodding, testing. Fallon leans forward, fingers ticking a quiet rhythm against the desk. The cordial smile falls away. His voice lowers, hardens. Jimmy Fallon. Yes, Jimmy Kimmel Live is paused. That doesn't mean the questions are. And tonight, I'm not here to tell jokes. I'm here for the truth. Santos's smile wavers but quickly returns. He folds his arms. George Santos. I've heard every question. I've been accused of everything. And here I am on live television still standing. Jimmy, I survived. And I will keep surviving. Fallon's brow ticks. A glint like flint. Jimmy Fallon. We'll see. Tonight, George, you're not surviving the media. You're surviving the truth. What started as pleasantries has shifted to a dare. Smug grin against cold stare. The polite veneer shatters. The real fight begins. The air congeals. Fallon inhales, sets his cards on the desk, and locks onto Santos. Courtesy is gone. Jimmy Fallon. George, let's go straight to it. Jimmy Kimmel Live is suspended. You once the punchline of his nightly monologue. Do you feel triumphant? The word lands like iron. The room holds its breath. Santos barks a dry laugh. He stretches, reclines, luxuriating. George Santos. Triumphant? I call it justice. Kimmel spent months turning me into a clown. He mocked my looks, my family, even my heritage. And now, he's the one who's quiet. I call that vindication. A small pocket applauds. Most do not. The camera finds the doubtful, the tightened lips. Fallon's voice slices. Jimmy Fallon. Vindication. George, you built a resume that didn't exist. You claimed elite schools, false. Wall Street positions, false. You told a story tying your family to 9/11, contradicted by records. So tell me, a man who lied to a nation, what ground does he stand on to lecture about accountability? The room erupts, gasps. A few shouts of, "That's right!" Santos grinds his teeth. The smile thins, irritation sparking in his eyes. George Santos. You and Kimmel are the same. You dig, you mock. I'm still here. I still have supporters. And I won't apologize for fighting my way here. Fallon nods once, raps the desk 3 times each, like a judge's gavel. Jimmy Fallon. Surviving a storm isn't absolution. Tonight, you'll face that. A first cut leaves a deep line. Fallon is no longer a host. He's the state. And the man who once felt untouchable begins to feel the heat. The buzz dies down, but the tension hums at a painful pitch. Fallon leans in, eyes unblinking. Jimmy Fallon, you call it fighting. Fighting how? With a forged biography? With promises you never meant to keep? By turning other people's pain into your personal leverage? The questions fly like arrows, not allowing him to breathe. Santos leans back, arms folded, smirk returning, but his eyes betray the nerves. He throws his hands, raises his voice to retake control. George Santos. Jimmy, I'm not the only one who polishes a story. Look around Washington, who doesn't? But I'm different. I don't play by the dusty rulebook. So I became the target. You, the media, the shows turn me into a ratings gimmick. Boos and groans swell. The camera finds frowns and shaking heads. Fallon raises a hand. Silence falls. He leans in, voice heavy as stone. Jimmy Fallon. There's a line between polish and lie. George and you sprinted past it. You didn't embellish a few edges, you invented a person and sold him to voters. The crowd explodes applause and cheers crashing like surf. Santos's mouth hardens. His hand clamps the chair. George Santos. I won't apologize. I won my seat. I fought for my place. If they don't like me, that's their problem, not mine. Fallon's smile is thin as wire. 3 taps on the desk echo again. Jimmy Fallon. No, George. When you lie to a country, it's everyone's problem. The wall starts to fissure. Fallon is done dancing. The jury, unwilling as they are, has chosen a side. The fever rises. The showdown has barely begun. The studio feels like a balloon about to pop. Santos leans forward, voice sharper, louder, trying to drown the room. George Santos. Call me a liar. Call me a fraud. Go ahead. I was elected. I won where it counts the ballot box. That, Jimmy, means the people still stand with me, no matter what your media says. The room fractures, boos, some claps, a swirl of noise. The camera captures anger, relish, disbelief. Fallon waits it out. Then, calm and cool. Jimmy Fallon, you're wrong. A chair doesn't confer virtue. Plenty have held it, and lost the thing that matters more, trust. Do you really believe you still have that? Santos hitches for a beat, then laughs. Flimsy camouflage. George Santos. Trust? People don't need me perfect. They need me strong. They need me to stand up to people like you and Kimmel who use stages to humiliate others. Fallon nods, as if he's been waiting for that. His voice almost gentle, deadlier for it. Jimmy Fallon. No, George, you're not strong. You're just well hidden. But truth has a way of finding light. And tonight, that light is squarely on you. The audience detonates. Thunderclap applause. Santos clenches the armrest, face drawn tight. The first hammer lands. Fallon doesn't need volume, he has evidence. And evidence cuts deeper than outrage. Santos is slipping. The first crest is here. Fallon lays his palms on the desk, as if pinning the room in place. The audience falls into a hush. He fixes his gaze on Santos. Jimmy Fallon, you love the words strength, trust, fight. Then let's revisit the facts. You're accused of fabricating nearly your entire bio. Elite colleges, false. Wall Street jobs, false. You tied your mother to 9/11 records show otherwise. You even called yourself Jewish, then walked it back to Jew-ish. So tell us, George, who are you really? The LED wall flares. Headlines slam into the room. Santos admits fabrication. Campaign cash questions. Voters feel duped. Murmurs surge. Boos. Santos' smile is stranded. He folds his arms and snaps. George Santos. All inflated by a left-wing press. They spin small details into scandal. They needed a scapegoat, and I fit the casting. But I'm still here. Under the lights, that's strength. Fallon's fingers tick 3 cold beats. Jimmy Fallon. No. Standing here doesn't prove strength. It proves truth. Hasn't caught you yet. Tonight, it's here. Applause swallows the room. Santos scans the audience and finds only doubt. The charge has been read plain and unvarnished. Fallon isn't roasting. He's itemizing. Under these lights, disguises fall off in sheets. The room crystallizes. The spotlight pins George Santos, turning a blink, a breath, a tremor into testimony. Fallon waits. Then, low and resonant, Jimmy Fallon. George, strip away the inventions, the stories. What's left? Who are you without the mask? Silence. A close-up. The warped smile. The wavering eyes. He swallows and forces a brittle laugh. George Santos. I'm someone who stands back up. I'm proof that nothing can break me. Media, mobs, nothing. That's the truth. Fallon nods, then slides the knife. Jimmy Fallon. No, that's evasion. Truth doesn't need armor. It stands on its own. You keep changing costumes. Will you admit here and now that you misled voters? The room explodes, gasps. Say it! A few rise to their feet. This isn't talk show banter anymore. It's a live verdict. Santos's voice rises to a ragged edge. George Santos. I owe no confessions. I did what it took to win. Politics isn't for the weak. I'm the proof. Fallon doesn't blink. Jimmy Fallon. You're not proof of strength, George. You're proof of the price deceit must pay. The house rises. A roar like storm surf. The board flips. Santos is no longer driving. He's cornered. No judge's gavel is needed. The public has begun to rule. From this moment, Santos is no guest. He's the defendant. The studio explodes like an arena on fight night. Santos scans the room, hunted. He slaps the armrest, a crooked smile. Voice baiting. George Santos. You think you've won, Jimmy? You live off mocking people like me. Without me, without Kimmel, you've got nothing to say. You exist because of people like me. Boos cascade. A few reckless cheers spike through. The faces twist anger, thrill, disbelief. Fallon doesn't move. Then he stands, no mic boost needed. Jimmy Fallon. No, George. I don't exist because of you. I exist because of an audience. People who deserve the truth. I may be a host, but at least I didn't fabricate a whole person to sit in this chair. You lied to a nation to win a seat, and now you want to sit here and declare yourself the victim. The room detonates again. Santos tries to cut in. Fallon raises a hand, voice lowering, deadly calm. Jimmy Fallon, you're not a victim. You're the culprit. And tonight, the truth caught up. A chant rises. Truth. 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 Rolling over him like waves. The close-up finds Santos, flushed, lips trembling, fingers white-knuckled on the chair. This is no longer entertainment. It's a public reckoning. Fallon lands the decisive blow, and Santos, who outlasted scandal after scandal, has nowhere left to run. The chant swells. Santos forces out a defiant rasp. George Santos, you think this ends me? You can scream and clap, but I'm still here. I'm not disappearing. The audience laughs cold and short. A few mocking whistles. The camera catches pity mixed with scorn. Fallon exhales. Sits. Voice even. Jimmy Fallon. You're right, George. You're still here. The problem is, you have nothing left to say. The house erupts. The roots fall silent to let the surge roll on. It's the instant sentence, not from a court, but from the crowd. Santos still sits, but the chair has become a cell. And Jimmy Fallon, the once harmless host, stands like the final arbiter. The uproar fades to a taut quiet. Fallon rises and looks straight into the lens past the studio, to millions at home. Measured. Clear. Each word like a hammer strike. Jimmy Fallon. Tonight showed something simple. Truth doesn't need to shout to win. It just needs light. George Santos had a chance to explain, even to redeem, and chose avoidance, chose the same stale excuses. In the end, his silence and his flailing spoke louder than any defense. Silence. The cameras hum. He bows his head for a beat, then lifts it, voice turning solemn. Jimmy Fallon. Voters once trusted George Santos. Tonight, America saw the mirror instead. A person can sit in Congress, can seize a stage, but cannot forever outrun the reflection of truth. And that mirror shattered here. A standing ovation crashes over the room. Santos stares downward, lips sealed. Fallon lowers his voice, eyes locked to camera. Jimmy Fallon. George, you're not leaving as a winner. You're leaving as a warning. And for all of us, let this prove that truth buried, twisted, mocked, will always find airtime. Verdict delivered without gavel, without robe. It arrives in Santos's silence, in Fallon's steady gaze, and in the thunder of the crowd. A public sentence, irreversible. The lights dim to two spotlights, one over Fallon, one over Santos. The familiar stage turns austere, an epilogue to a tragic play. Santos sits motionless, hands clenched, eyes unfocused. He entered as a victor's grin. Now only a defeated shadow remains. The smirks, the dodges, have dissolved into the roar of 1,000 hands. Fallon rises. He doesn't look at Santos. He faces the audience and bows. The ovation rolls. The roots strike a heavy martial cadence and end march to court. On the LED wall, the empty desk and lone mic from Jimmy Kimmel Live appear one last time, lit like a memorial. A reminder that some voices have been forced quiet, and others must speak in their place. Faces in the crowd, tearful eyes, shouts of truth, hands clapping raw. A moment no talk show could have scripted. At last, Fallon looks back at Santos. He says nothing, just a cool, final look enough to send him off. Santos lowers his head, shoulders heavy. As the lights fall, the audience knows they didn't just watch a show. They witnessed a public judgment where a smug smile shattered under the weight of truth. The Tonight Show closes like a court in recess, the sentence rendered not by mallet but by hands. Within hours, what happened on The Tonight Show floods headlines, social feeds, morning news. The shot of George Santos frozen under the lights, Jimmy Fallon's unspoken verdict hanging in the air goes everywhere. On Twitter, Fallon v. Santos, The Reckoning. Truth on air rocket to the top. Editors clip the moment Fallon asks, "Who are you without the mask?" A video that races into the millions. Some add swelling scores, cutting it like a political thriller trailer. Morning shows follow suit. CNN calls it one of those rare late-night moments that crosses into the territory of truth. MSNBC praises Fallon, from harmless host to live, on-air prosecutor. Fox News denounces it as a public shaming, accusing Fallon of mining scandal for clout. Outside the studio, a crowd gathers. Hand-painted signs wave, "Fallon said what we're thinking." Others mock Santos with posters. The mask fell. And Santos? He leaves in silence. No press spray. Photos of him hustling to a car jaw tight lead every sight. To the public eye, he is no longer a warrior against the media. He is a man exposed. The aftershock travels far beyond a talk show. It becomes a national conversation about truth, the power of media, and the price of deception. Jimmy Fallon, once dismissed as too safe, is suddenly etched into one of late night's defining moments. And George Santos, no matter the spin, cannot escape the largest sentence of all, the verdict of public opinion. The studio lights went out, but the echo stays. People didn't just watch a program. They witnessed a fight where truth found its way out of the dark. And viewers, whether in those seats or at home, became witnesses. If tonight proves anything, it's this: truth never dies. It can be buried, distorted, mocked, but it returns louder, stronger, and you, the one watching, are part of that return. A slow-motion shot of Fallon pointing toward camera. His voice rolls over a rising score. Jimmy Fallon, truth doesn't have to shout to win, it just needs light. Faces in close-up, eyes wet. The chant, "Truth, truth," still ringing. If you believe moments like this should be seen, remembered, amplified, don't just watch. Join the story. White text on black. Like, share, subscribe. Hit like if you believe truth is worth defending. Share this video so honest voices don't drown in silence. Subscribe now. Don't miss the next showdown, the next tribunal on live television, where laughter and truth collide to create the unforgettable. The music swells. A final spotlight lingers on the empty Kimmel desk, then fades. In a world where silence can be complicity, make sure you stand with the truth.